When I started replaying GTA 3, I really thought I was about to rediscover something important. This was supposed to be the one that started everything, the foundation that built Rockstar into what it is now. I thought maybe after finishing all the later games, I'd come back and see where it all began. Appreciate the roots, but this was rough. I don't think I've ever been so disappointed in replaying a game. And not in a this didn't age well kind of way. It feels unfinished. Every time I tried to enjoy it, something reminded me how much better everything after it became. I played the Definitive Edition, which I already knew had issues, but I didn't realize just how bad it looked in motion. It's like someone upscaled the PS2 textures through an AI filter, called it a day, and then forgot how lighting works. The characters look like wax figures and the world feels flat. The art style just doesn't match the tone at all. It's weirdly bright and somehow everything still looks dead. And you can tell there was no quality control behind this remaster. Half the time the round's like someone's dumping milk out of the sky, the cars reflect light that isn't even there, and the character models move like they're melting while talking. It's seriously embarrassing. But even setting the visuals aside, the game itself hasn't aged gracefully. The controls are stiff, the missions are repetitive, and the story itself barely exists. It doesn't build momentum or emotion, it just sort of happens. One mission leads to another with no sense of purpose, and for a game that laid the groundwork for Vice City, San Andreas, and even GTA 4, it's insane how hollow this all feels. What makes it worse is how much potential you can still see underneath it. There are flashes, tiny moments where you can tell Rockstar had ideas that could have worked if they had more time, but those moments never last. It's like they're buried under years of bad design choices and nostalgia that's aged like milk. I really wanted to like this game. I really did. I went into it ready to appreciate it as a time capsule, something primitive but meaningful. Instead, it just reminded me of how much better somehow The Lost and Damned was, and I absolutely hated that game. This somehow managed to have a worse story and even worse gameplay. So this video is not about rewriting history or pretending GTA 3 deserves respect. It doesn't. This is about facing it for what it really is. The most boring, lifeless, technically broken GTA ever made. The one that accidentally shaped the future by being so bad that everything after it had to be better. First off, the Definitive Edition wasn't even the bugs that really caught me off guard. It was the art style. I don't know what they were going for in all honesty, but it felt like they tried to modernize PS2 graphics without ever understanding what made those old games work in the first place. The characters look like low poly Fortnite models that got left in the sun for too long, and the lighting somehow manages to make everything both shiny and flat. Every scene just looks wrong. The fog's gone, the atmosphere's gone, and what's left feels like a fan-made mod with too much bloom. Liberty City used to have this gritty, rainy tone that made it feel dangerous. Now it just looks like a cartoon with motion blur. The character models are awful. Some of them look completely different, like they were resculpted by AI that didn't understand human proportions. Joey Leone looks like a wax figure from a mob museum. Asuka's face barely moves when she talks. Claude looks like a GTA Online character wearing a GTA 3 mask. You can tell these textures were AI upscaled because they have that weird, smoothed over look, like someone took sandpaper to the entire city. All the personality that came from PS2's roughness is completely gone. It's just sterile now. You start noticing that the city feels smaller too, not because it actually is, but because the lighting and depth are just gone. Without fog, the sense of scale disappears completely. You can see the whole map at once and it kills the illusion of distance. And it's not like Rockstar didn't have time or money to fix this. They clearly just didn't care. They outsourced the remaster, ran the PS2 textures through a machine, and marketed it as a celebration. It's one of the worst cases of nostalgia bait I've ever seen. The Definitive Edition somehow makes the original game's flaws even more obvious. The stiffer movement feels worse because now it's paired with broken lighting and animation bugs. You can see cars pop in and out right in front of you, pedestrians teleport, and Claude's shadow disappear mid-mission. Sometimes the game even just freezes when you try to switch weapons, and what makes it so frustrating is that GTA 3 deserved better preservation than this. It's one thing for the gameplay to feel dated. That is completely expected. But when you take something iconic and turn it into this glossy, soulless version of itself, it's seriously insulting. The PS2 version might have been rough, but it had texture, it had atmosphere. This version looks like someone stripped all that away just to fit a marketing trailer. The whole Definitive name almost feels sarcastic. There's nothing definitive about it, it's just the worst version of the worst GTA. The story opens up with what should be a strong setup. A heist gone wrong, a betrayal, a protagonist left for dead. It's simple, it's classic, and it could have worked, but it doesn't. Right from the start, you realize how empty everything feels. Catalina shoots Claude, the cutscene fades, and that's it. Barely any dialogue, no music cue that hits emotionally, no reason to care. It's like the game assumes you're already invested, but it never gives you anything to invest in. Claude's silence is usually framed as mysterious or iconic, but in reality, it makes his character feel unfinished. You can tell Rockstar hadn't figured out how to write a protagonist yet. He's not stoic, he's just absent. Every character talks at him instead of to him, which makes every cutscene feel awkward. It's like watching someone talk to a wall. Even the characters around him feel half-written. Catalina is supposed to be this intense, chaotic villain, but here she comes off as cartoonish. There's no real chemistry, no reason to believe their relationship mattered in the first place. She betrays him in the opening scene, vanishes for most of the game, and then randomly appears in the finale like a forgotten side quest. GTA 4 did this kind of emotional setup perfectly. You felt Nico's guilt, his anger, his search for meaning. GTA 3 has none of that. Claude doesn't seem angry, he doesn't seem like really anything. He just moves from one mission marker to the next. He stares blankly at people who have more personality in their pinky fingers than he does for the entire game. The worst part is, the game constantly acts like there's this big story happening. It uses the same mission structure you'd see in every GTA since, but without any of the weight. You meet Luigi, Joey, Tony, Salvatore, and they all treat Claude like he's some rising criminal with ambition, but you never see him act like one. He doesn't react, doesn't plan, doesn't even nod with intention. It's like he's doing errands, not climbing a criminal empire. The pacing doesn't help either. The game throws you into the city immediately, but without context or motivation. You're just working for random people because the map says so. It's such a weird shift coming from The Lost and Damned where everything, every job, every conversation had some form of meaning. GTA 3 feels like a skeleton of that idea, before Rockstar figured out how to make any of it feel alive. Even the opening hours feel cold. The cutscenes use those flat camera angles where everyone stands completely still, gesturing like robots while the voice acting does all the work. It's awkward and stiff, like the game's emotionally tone deaf. You're supposed to feel like Claude's climbing out of a betrayal. Instead, it feels like you're watching an empty shell get passed from one errand to the next. And I think that's where GTA 3 loses you almost immediately. Not because of gameplay or graphics, but because there's nothing human here. There's no spark, no struggle, no moment that makes you feel like this world matters. It's just gray skies, loud cars, and a main character that might as well not exist. Looking back, every GTA has that one thing it nails. In Vice City, it's the mood. In San Andreas, it's the freedom. For GTA 4, it's the realism. Even GTA 5 has its cinematic polish, but GTA 3, it doesn't really have anything. It's a city that exists, but it doesn't feel alive. Walking through Liberty City, there's this weird emptiness that hits you almost right away. The cars are all loud, but lifeless. The pedestrians repeat the same 5 lines, and the sky always looks like it's stuck between dawn and pollution. The world doesn't breathe, it simply loops. It's like a soundstage built to look like a city without any of the details that make one feel real. The people don't go anywhere, the cars drive in perfect squares, and the same ambient noises echo no matter where you stand. It's supposed to be gritty, but it feels static, like the entire place is trapped in a demo. And of course, the Definitive Edition somehow makes that worse. The new lighting doesn't add atmosphere, it removes what little was there. The old fog covered the limits of the map and made the city feel pretty big, like something dangerous was hiding just beyond sight. Without it, you can see the edges of everything, and once you notice, the illusion's gone. It stops feeling like Liberty City and starts feeling like a model kit someone forgot to paint. Everything to the sound design is just off. The same 3 gunfire effects play no matter what weapon you use, and cars explode with that same low quality thud that feels wrong. There's no depth to any of it. You're surrounded by noise, but it's all empty noise, like white static that never stops. What's crazy is that GTA 3's world was revolutionary when it released. Back then, people couldn't believe you could get in a car, drive anywhere, and cause chaos in a 3D city. But now that open worlds are normal, all of its weaknesses are impossible to ignore. There's no rhythm, no character, no sense of time or place. You're just existing in a gray box that happens to have pedestrians in it. It doesn't help that Liberty City's layout doesn't make much sense. Half the map feels designed around mission triggers instead of actual city planning. The bridges cut the map into awkward sections, the roads are narrow, and half the time you're crashing because the camera can't keep up. It doesn't feel like you're driving through a real city, it feels like you're fighting against one. You start to realize how far Rockstar came once you see where they started. Liberty City in GTA 4 feels alive. It has culture, rhythm, emotion. You remember neighborhoods by feeling, not by coordinates. GTA 3 doesn't give you that. Every street feels almost exactly the same. Every area bleeds together. It's like someone built a world entirely out of filler. And for a game that's supposed to make you feel like a criminal building a reputation, it's ironic how empty that city feels, because there's nothing to build. No connection, no purpose, just a quiet, looping simulation of life that forgot to include the part that makes it human. After the first few missions, you start to notice a pattern. Every job here feels identical. Drive here, shoot there, escape the cops, repeat. There's no build up, no tension, no moment that actually makes you stop and think about what you're doing. It's like the game's stuck on autopilot. You work for Luigi, then Joey, then Tony, then Salvatore. All of them talk big, like they're running some massive operation, but every job they give feels like busy work. You're supposed to be climbing through the criminal ranks, but it never really feels like progress. You're just doing favors for people who don't matter. They use you, you move on, and the story never acknowledges any of it. Even the mission dialogue doesn't connect.
Salvatore's death comes as pleasurable news. You're an efficient killer. I like that in a man. Ah, this is my brother, Kenji.
You can tell most of the writing was just meant to fill silence. Characters dump exposition like they're reading grocery lists. They'll tell you how important a mission is, then send you to drive 2 blocks and shoot a van. It's the most low-effort storytelling I've ever seen from Rockstar, and it's crazy to think how far they've come from this. The problem is that nothing in GTA 3 feels earned. You don't rise through ranks or gain respect. You just complete checkboxes. The money doesn't matter, the people don't matter, the world doesn't react. You could be killing hundreds of people and the game just shrugs. You could be doing errands for 5 different gangs and no one notices or even cares. It's all the same, over and over. And when you finally think the story is going to do something new, it just resets. You finish one batch of missions, a new character calls, and you're back to square one. The only difference is the color of their suit or the accent of their voice. There's no overarching story, just disconnected fragments pretending to lead somewhere. Missions that should be climatic barely last 2 minutes. You'll start one, listen to a monologue that feels like it's been written in 5 minutes, then drive across town and complete an objective that barely qualifies as gameplay. There's no time to care. You just move from one scene to the next, trying to figure out what the point even is. And the game never really gives you one. Even Claude doesn't seem to know what he's doing in any of this. He's not after revenge, he's not trying to rebuild, he's not chasing money, he's really just existing. Doing jobs because you're told to do them. It's the kind of story that makes you question if the writers even cared about what they were making. It's especially disappointing because GTA 3 has flashes of something deeper. There are these small moments, like a line from Salvatore or a scene where the music cuts out, that almost like a setup for something bigger, then it just ends, and you're back to doing errands. It's like they had structure for a great story, but no one to fill it out. And when you combine that with how repetitive the missions are, the game starts to wear you down. It's not challenging, it's just exhausting. Every new mission just feels like another checkbox on a list of things you'll forget as soon as it's done. Somewhere around the halfway point, GTA 3 just unironically just loses the plot. You switch from working with the Leon family to running errands for Asuka and the Yakuza, and it's like the game forgets everything that happened before. There's no transition, no emotional bridge, you just go from one side of the city to the other, and suddenly everyone you knew just stops existing. It feels disconnected in a way that almost seems unintentional, like the writers were just trying to fill mission slots without worrying about continuity. You're supposed to believe that Claude's this rising criminal moving up the food chain, but it feels more like he's being tossed around between factions for convenience. No loyalty, no payoff, and no reason for any of this. The Yakuza missions are where it really becomes obvious how little thought went into the story. Asuka and Kenji talk to Claude like they've known him for years, even though you just met him. The writing assumes you care, but there's nothing to grab onto, and the missions themselves feel completely tone deaf. You go from doing petty mob jobs to assassinating high-ranking gang leaders with literally no build-up at all. And what's worse is how random the tone becomes. One mission tries to be serious, the next feels slapstick, and then none of it will land. There's no emotional consistency. You're supposed to care about betrayal one moment and laugh at goofy side characters the next. It's like the story doesn't even know what mood it's aiming for. The pacing completely goes off the rails too. You'll go from blowing up cars for mobsters to protecting armored trucks for the Yakuza in the span of literal minutes. The game doesn't earn those shifts, it just drops them in. And since Claude doesn't talk, there's no way to sell the change in perspective. He's just a silent, floating camera doing other people's work. Even Catalina, who's supposed to be the story's big villain, disappears for almost the entire middle of the game. She's mentioned once or twice, then vanishes like she never mattered. By the time she finally reappears in the finale, it doesn't feel like a comeback. It feels like the game remembered it needed an ending. It's such a bizarre feeling playing through it now. You can see all the pieces of what would later make Vice City and San Andreas so good. The gang rivalries, the city structure, the empire building, but here, it's like someone threw those ideas into a blender without caring how they fit. And maybe that's what makes GTA 3 so disappointing. It's not just that the story is bad, it's that you can see the good version underneath it. You can tell they were close to making something so special, but they never connected the dots. What's left is this hollow outline of a story that barely holds together by the end. The deeper you get into GTA 3, the more you realize just how much Claude's silence holds the entire game back. He's not a mystery, he's not stoic, he's just empty. A camera with a gun. Every scene where a character speaks to him feels one-sided, like a cutscene that's missing half its dialogue. People pour their emotions out. They yell, threaten, insult, beg, and Claude just stares. There's no acknowledgement, no expression, no reaction. You're watching the emotional energy of every other character bounce off of a brick wall. And I get it, some people defend it by saying he's supposed to be a blank slate, but that excuse only works if the game gives you a reason to fill in the blanks yourself. GTA 3 doesn't. You're not projecting onto Claude. You're just waiting for him to become someone, but he never does. What makes it worse is that the silence completely kills the pacing. Cutscenes that should have momentum just die mid-sentence. You'll have Salvatore ranting about loyalty, or Asuka laying out a detailed plan, and then Claude just walks away like he didn't hear any of it. There's no personality, no greed, no anger, not even the faintest sense of curiosity. By the middle of the game, it starts to get funny. You start noticing how ridiculous it looks. This guy's standing completely still while people lose their minds all around him. It's like watching a glitch in human interaction, and it's especially weird when you compare it to later Rockstar protagonists. Tommy Vercetti talked, CJ had emotion, Nico had guilt, even Trevor, for as insane as he is, feels human. Claude feels like an unfinished placeholder that accidentally became a main character, and because of that, every mission starts to feel disconnected. You're told who to kill, you kill them. You're told who to help, you help them. But there's never any reason behind it. There's no visible motivation driving any of it forward. The game just assumes you'll care because the characters around you do, but they're reacting to a protagonist who isn't even participating. That disconnect bleeds into everything else. The story doesn't have emotional stakes because the person you're playing doesn't care about anything. The gameplay doesn't have tension because you're not fighting for anything. Even the betrayals don't sting because Claude doesn't feel betrayed. He just reloads and moves on. You can really tell Rockstar learned their lesson here. By the time Vice City came out, they'd figured out the players needed someone to anchor the chaos. That's why Tommy's voice mattered so much. That's why Nico's guilt made GTA 4 so powerful. Claude doesn't have any of that. He's just a ghost drifting through missions that don't mean anything. And the weirdest part? The game seems completely unaware of how lifeless he is. It tries to frame him like this rising criminal mastermind, but nothing about him says mastermind. He's not plotting or manipulating. He's not charming or feared. He's completely silent. And in a story that's already barely holding together, that silence turns into white noise. The longer you play GTA 3, the more you realize the game isn't just outdated, it's actively working against you. Everything about it feels stiff, clunky, and unpredictable in a way that stops being challenging and starts feeling broken. Driving, for example, is a nightmare. Cars handle like they're made of soap. Every turn feels delayed. Every bump sends you spinning, and once you start losing control, there's almost no way of getting it back. The Definitive Edition somehow made this even worse. The physics are lighter, the traction's off, and it's like every vehicle's tires are coated in grease. You'll be driving perfectly for 1 second, and then the next second you're upside down because you barely tapped the curb. There's no checkpoint, you have to reload the entire mission, sit through the cutscenes again, and hope the game doesn't glitch this time. The AI doesn't help either. Cops are relentless. They'll ram you head on, shoot you through walls, and ignore everything else happening around them just to chase you. It's not difficulty, it's chaos. You can tell the AI wasn't built for fairness, just aggression. Even combat feels wrong. There's no sense of feedback or precision. You aim in someone's general direction, hold down the trigger, and hope the auto target picks the right enemy. It's not satisfying, it's luck. And when it doesn't lock on properly, which happens a lot, you're left spinning in circles while enemies shoot you from off screen. Explosions are another story. They look and sound identical, no matter what caused them. But the real issue is how inconsistent they are. Sometimes you'll walk away from a car explosion without a scratch. Other times, one tiny explosion wipes out an entire city block, including you, from 20 feet away. Even simple missions start to feel like you're fighting the game instead of playing it. Half of them rely on clunky mechanics like throwing grenades or shooting moving vehicles, things the controls clearly weren't built for. And the more precise the mission asks you to be, the worse it gets. It's like the game's daring you to break it. What's wild is that GTA 3 was once praised for how realistic it felt. Back in 2001, people were amazed by being able to drive anywhere and interact with anything. But now, it's like every system is collapsing under its own ambition. The driving, the shooting, and the police, it all feels like early prototypes that were never fixed. By the time you're a few hours in, you stop thinking about completing missions. You start thinking about surviving them. Every success feels accidental, every failure feels cheap, and every time you die, you wonder why you're still even trying. It's exhausting. The game doesn't reward skill, it rewards patience. The only real challenge is putting up with it long enough to finish it. Eventually you start realizing GTA 3 doesn't actually challenge you, it just punishes you. Every mission that's supposed to test your skill just tests your patience. The game doesn't make you think or adapt, it just throws you into impossible situations and hopes you'll eventually get lucky. Timers are a perfect example. So many missions have completely unnecessary countdowns that don't add tension, they just add stress. You're already dealing with bad driving physics, random cop AI, and paper-thin cars, but now there's a 2-minute timer because why? It's not about skill, it's about repetition. You fail, you restart, and the game treats that repetition like difficulty. It's the same thing with enemy AI. They don't act smart, they act unfair. They'll laser you from across the map with perfect accuracy even when you're behind cover, while Claude can barely aim straight. Enemies don't miss, ever. And it's not satisfying when you finally beat them, because it never feels like you outplayed them, just that the game finally didn't screw you over. Then there's how fragile everything is. One car explosion can wipe out half your mission progress. A single bump from a cop car can flip your car. Fall into water, instant death. No swimming, no recovery. It's like the game is constantly looking for an excuse to reset you back to the beginning. And when you do fail, it's not just about redoing the mission, it's about redoing the drive to the mission. You'll sit through the same cutscene, drive the same 10 blocks, dodge the same random traffic. That's not gameplay, that's punishment disguised as design. What makes it worse is that the game doesn't scale its difficulty in a meaningful way. It doesn't feel like you're learning, it feels like you're enduring. The later missions aren't more complex, just more chaotic. More enemies, more cars, more random events that can ruin everything. It's noise instead of balance. And the Definitive Edition definitely didn't fix any of it. If anything, it made it harder to deal with. The controls are even less responsive, the driving's floatier, and some missions even bug out entirely. Timers don't trigger, objectives don't update, enemies don't spawn, so when you finally do everything right and the game still decides you failed, it's infuriating. It's the kind of design that makes you stop caring about improvement. You're not trying to get better at the game anymore, you're just trying to get over with it. And when that's your mindset, the game stops being challenging and just becomes exhausting. That's the biggest flaw in GTA 3's gameplay loop. It confuses friction for depth. It thinks making something tedious makes it satisfying to complete, but all it really does is remind you that you're fighting against a system that doesn't respect your time. When you finally finish a mission, you don't feel proud, you just feel relieved. And if that's the best emotion a game can give you, relief that it's over, something went seriously wrong. Every GTA game has that one mission people complain about. Something that's difficult or unfair but still memorable. The kind of thing you get mad at, beat, and then laugh about later. But in GTA 3, it's not just one mission, it's half of them. You can tell which ones were never tested properly. Expresso to Go might be one of the worst missions Rockstar has ever made. You're forced to destroy a bunch of stalls spread across the city, there's no clear route, no proper tracking, and there's no room for mistakes. If you crash once or if a car flips because the physics bug out, you might as well restart. And that's the thing, the game doesn't fail because it's hard, it fails because it's unstable. Every part of the design feels fragile. You can do everything right and still lose because of something that isn't your fault. It's like the game's constantly rolling dice behind your back, deciding whether it wants you to cooperate or not. Even simple missions like Plaster Blaster turn into chaos. You're supposed to chase an injured target and shoot them before they reach the hospital. Sounds straightforward, right? But the AI drives perfectly. The car you're chasing never slows down, and the moment you finally damage it, the police spawn in like they've been waiting for you, and if your own car flips or explodes, back to the start. Then there's the finale, the mission that's supposed to tie everything together. Instead, it just proves how unfinished the entire game feels. Catalina reappears after being gone for almost the entire story, suddenly flying a helicopter, and the final mission becomes this weird mix of broken design and bad direction. You're shooting rockets at a moving chopper with clunky controls, dodging enemies with perfect aim, and praying the physics don't glitch mid-fight. And when you finally finish it, when you somehow manage to shoot Catalina down, it doesn't even feel like victory. The game just suddenly ends. There's no emotional closure, no payoff, no final moment that makes the struggle worth it. Maria starts talking, you hear a gunshot, and the screen fades to black. That's it. You don't know what happened, you don't know why it ended that way, and you don't even care anymore. It's like the end's final message is, you're done, leave. That's the difference between difficulty and punishment. A hard game makes you feel accomplished when you win. GTA 3 just makes you feel drained. The missions don't build up to anything, they just wear you down. You're not conquering challenges, you're enduring mistakes. And the worst part is that there's no satisfaction in finishing. It doesn't feel like you completed a story, it feels like you finally escaped one. The game fades to black, the credits roll, and Liberty City just sits there, the same as it's always been. You walk outside after the ending and realize nothing's changed. People are still repeating the same lines, the car is still driving the same circles, the same cops are still waiting to ruin your day. The entire city feels frozen, like you didn't just survive hours of chaos, you just paused the simulation for just a minute. Money doesn't matter either. While the end you're sitting on hundreds of thousands of dollars, but there's nothing to spend it on. No properties to buy, no upgrades, no new outfits, no purpose. It's just numbers on the screen. A reminder that the game was built around a progression system it never finished. The reputation you supposedly built up across the story, it's gone. Every game you worked for eventually turns hostile, so half the city's just shooting at you for existing. You can't even walk down certain streets without getting swarmed. It's like the game's punishing you for completing it. You finish the story, and the reward is that the world hates you now. And that would be fine if there was something to balance it, like side activities, challenges, or even small details to make free roam interesting, but there's nothing. You can drive around, start chaos, and that's about it. I feel like the game ends halfway through an idea. Even the safe houses feel useless. You can save your progress, grab a few weapons, and that's about it. They never feel like home bases or reflections of your progress, just identical garages scattered across the map. Compare that to Vice City, where every new property made you feel like you were building on something, or GTA 4, where every apartment told part of Nico's story. In GTA 3, they're just boxes with doors. That's what hits hardest after credits. You realize that you spent hours doing missions, driving, fighting, dying, and restarting, all for nothing. The city doesn't care that you finished, doesn't react, doesn't even acknowledge it. You've been running in circles the entire time. And in a depressing way, it's kind of poetic. Claude spends the whole game trying to climb a ladder that doesn't exist. Every favor, every kill, every betrayal, none of it leads anywhere. The game doesn't just forget to give you closure, it reminds you that there was never any to begin with. When you turn the game off, there's this weird silence. You don't feel accomplished, you just feel empty. And maybe that's the most fitting ending GTA 3 could have had, a game about a world with no soul ending exactly how it lived, cold, repetitive, and meaningless. When you finish the game, you realize something strange. Liberty City isn't really an open world. It's an open space, and there's a big difference. You can drive anywhere, sure, but there's nothing there. No rhythm, no purpose. It feels like a movie set that forgot it was supposed to represent a city. The streets loop like racetracks, the pedestrians repeat the same two lines, and the world never reacts beyond aggression. It's not that the city hates you, it just doesn't know you exist. That's what makes replaying this game so weird. In later GTA titles, the cities feel like a living organism. You can sense time passing, people go places, do things, react to you. In GTA 3, Liberty City is static. The same traffic pattern, the same voices, the same lifeless background noise. It's the illusion of chaos, but without the soul. And that's why free roam becomes boring so quickly. You're not exploring, you're looping. Every area looks the same, every neighborhood blurs together, and there's nothing interesting to stumble into. You can't find unique encounters or discover anything unexpected because the game never built that kind of world. It's a sandbox but without the sand. What's funny is that back then, this was revolutionary. People called it freedom, but in hindsight, it's more like empty space disguised as innovation. Rockstar gave players room to move, but nothing meaningful to do once they got there. It's one of those things you only really notice after playing the later games. Liberty City here isn't dead because of bad graphics, it's dead because it was never allowed to begin with. There's this point where the frustration doesn't even bother you anymore. It just turns into apathy. You're not angry, you're not struggling, you're just done. That's the weird thing about this game. Most bad games at least make you feel something. Annoyance, confusion, maybe even amusement in some. GTA 3 doesn't. It just slowly pulls the energy out of you. You go from trying to finish missions to going through the motions, waiting for it to be over. You start realizing you're not even thinking about what you're doing anymore. You're driving, shooting, collecting paychecks from characters you don't care about, and none of it means anything. There's no drive, no sense of reward, the story doesn't motivate you, the gameplay doesn't challenge you, and the world doesn't inspire you. It's purely noise. It's not like GTA 4 where every mission feels like a piece of something larger, or Vice City where every character feels distinct. Here, it's all gray, emotionally gray. Even the soundtrack feels detached. Songs play, but they don't set a mood. That's when you realize the real issue isn't the difficulty or the mechanics, it's the absence of emotion. There's no tone guiding the experience, no humanity driving it. And the strangest part, the emptiness starts rubbing off on you. You stop reacting to failure. You stop caring about success. You're just existing inside a game that doesn't seem to care whether you're there or not. That's not fun, that's not challenge, that's burnout disguised as design. For how much I've criticized GTA 3, I don't think it's completely hopeless. There are a few moments where you can tell Rockstar was close to something, little flashes where the pieces actually line up, and you can almost feel the foundation of what the series would become. The first time the radio clicks on while you're driving, that's one of them. Hearing Chatterbox FM or Game Radio for the first time actually feels kinda magical.
She wants to talk about how difficult it is being a parent today. Hello, Jane.
Hi, Laszlo. I love the show. I'm a first-time caller. I wanted to say something about these video games. They are warping our kids' minds. My son's dog, Bugo, got hit by a truck, and he says, Mommy, Mommy, where's the reset button? Kids these days, they think life is a game. Well, it's not a game, Laszlo. It is very, very serious. I let my kid play video games, and now he runs around the house looking for gold coins. This is teaching our children to go chase money. My little Sam's been playing this new video game called Pogo the Monkey.
Yeah, I've heard of that one.
His shop teacher called me today, and Sam made a homemade banana cannon in shop class and was lobbing them across the street at a fast food restaurant. And it's all because of video games. Laszlo, life does not have a reset button.
Right, but this show does.
The stations are weirdly authentic in how chaotic and self-aware they are. You can tell this was the start of Rockstar's obsession with building personality through radio. It gives the illusion that the city's got its own voice, even when the rest of the world doesn't. Another small thing that still works is the sound design. Even though most of it's repetitive, the atmosphere of certain parts of the city, the way the rain hits, the echo of gunfire between buildings, and that low hum of traffic, it captures this moody tone that feels genuinely haunting at sometimes. You'll be standing on a bridge or in an alley and think, okay, there's something here. And I'll give the game credit for its simplicity too. There's something raw about how stripped down it is. No complex systems, no distractions, just the basics. Drive, shoot, survive. It's not refined, but you can feel the early spark of an idea that would eventually turn into something incredible. It's like seeing the pencil sketch of a masterpiece. It's rough, but you recognize the shape. Those small things almost trick you into thinking the game's better than it is. For a few minutes, you'll start feeling it, the atmosphere, the rhythm, and then something breaks the illusion. Maybe a mission glitches out, or a cop just randomly teleports in front of your car while you're driving, or Claude stands there lifeless again while someone screams at him, and just like that, it's gone. That's the most frustrating part about GTA 3. It's not that it's entirely bad, it's that it's almost good. You can see what it wanted to be. You can feel the ambition under the surface, but it's like the soul never made it into the final build. The ideas are there, the execution isn't. It's those flashes of potential that keep you hanging on longer than you should, because when you see those moments that almost work, it reminds you how good Rockstar can be, and that's what makes this one so hard to sit through. You know what they're capable of, you just know they're not capable of it yet. What really puts GTA 3 into perspective is how fast it got replaced. Rockstar released Vice City not even a full year later, and somehow that one game fixed almost everything this one did wrong. It's honestly wild how quickly they evolved. Vice City had personality, that bright neon style, that 80s soundtrack, the energy. You could feel the developers actually having fun with it. Every character had an identity, the world had rhythm. Then San Andreas took that same formula and turned into something bigger, more layered, more human, and even more alive. It gave you variety, story, emotion, and choice. It made you feel like the game was meeting you halfway. When you look back at GTA 3 after playing those, it's hard not to see it as an unfinished prototype. All the systems are there, the open world, the mission structure, even the radio, but they're rough drafts. The city feels like a tech demo that accidentally became a full release. You can almost see Rockstar learning in real time, figuring out tone, pacing, storytelling, even camera angles. And that's what makes it so fascinating in hindsight. It's like watching a band's first album before they knew who they were. You can hear bits of greatness in there, but it's buried under confusion. They had ambition, but just not identity. Playing it now, it's clear how Vice City's magic came from realizing what GTA 3 lacked. They gave the protagonist a voice. They gave the world color. They gave players a reason to care. All the things that feel missing here became the foundation of everything that followed. You start to realize GTA 3 isn't just outdated, it's obsolete. Not in a disrespectful way, but in a historical one. It served its purpose. It opened the door, then immediately got left behind by the better games that came through it. And that's okay. Every series has that one stepping stone game, the one that walks so everything else can run. But replaying it now, you can't help but think how fast it aged. It didn't get surpassed, it got buried. It's a reminder that being first isn't the same as being the best, and for GTA 3, being first is the only thing that still matters. The weirdest thing is that this isn't rough or outdated, it's what it thought being mature meant. This was Rockstar's first real attempt at telling a serious story, and their idea of mature back then was basically just being cold. Everyone kills, everyone dies, and nobody ever stops to care. It's like they equated emotionless with realism. Every scene tries to sound gritty, but the writing has no weight behind it. People get blown up, betrayed, or executed, and the game just moves on like nothing happened. There's no tension or catharsis, just this weird sense of emptiness that this game keeps mistaking for depth. You can tell Rockstar was still trying to figure out what kind of voice they had. The later games like Vice City, San Andreas, and GTA 4 all had style. They had confidence. They knew when to exaggerate and when to pull back, but here, everything's one note. It's like the game's trying to sound tough, but doesn't actually understand why any of these people are doing what they're doing. Even the humor feels off. The radio stations have some genuinely clever moments, but outside of that, everything else is flat. The dialogue doesn't flow naturally. It's just characters shouting exposition. It's almost like GTA 3 wanted to be a crime drama without realizing it was accidentally becoming a parody of one. That's what makes it so interesting to revisit now. You can see the early signs of what Rockstar would eventually master. The satire, the cynicism, the emotional writing, but it's all buried under this layer of self-seriousness. It wants to be meaningful, but it doesn't know how yet. In a way, GTA 3 is like a teenager trying to act like an adult. It wears a suit, it says the right words, but it doesn't understand what any of it actually means. And that's what separates it from everything that came after. Rockstar learned that maturity doesn't come from being dark, it comes from being honest. When you really start paying attention to GTA 3's writing, you notice how hollow it is. Every conversation feels like it was written to fill time. Characters bark orders, threaten you, then vanish from the story like they were never there. There's no rhythm, no pause, no sense of any timing. The dialogue almost sounds like it was written without anyone reading it out loud first. It's stiff, robotic, and way too fast. Characters will talk over each other, change topics mid-sentence, and never let a moment breathe. It's like everyone in Liberty City is constantly trying to get their line out before the next explosion happens. Compare that to Vice City or San Andreas. Those games have scenes that actually feel like conversations. The dialogue flows naturally and the characters have chemistry. You can hear their personalities even without seeing their faces. Tommy actually responds, CJ argues, jokes, reacts, they sound like real people. Claude, on the other hand, just stands there. So every line directed to him ends up sounding awkward. Joey tells him he's proud of him, Tony warns him about loyalty, Salvatore treats him like family, and Claude doesn't even blink. It's not silence that builds tension, it's silence that kills connection. That's what really shows Rockstar's growth. In later games, they understood the story isn't just what happens, it's how people talk about what happens, the banter, the pauses, the awkward moments. That's where characters come from. GTA 3 doesn't have any of that, it's all command and response. Like reading lines off a mission checklist. Even the tone of the world feels disconnected. The radio stations sound fun and self-aware, but the story acts like it's serious drama. You can tell the writers didn't quite know what tone they were going for, satire or sincerity, so it lands somewhere in the middle and then hits neither. Looking back, it's kind of impressive how quickly Rockstar figured it out after this. A single year later, Vice City comes out with a fully voiced main character, a clear tone, and scenes that actually flow. It's not the technology got better, the writing did. They realized that a world this loud needs characters who can hold their own inside it. GTA 3 never had that balance. It's all noise and no voice. And that's the biggest difference between this and everything that came after. The later games felt alive because the people in them did. What's funny is that in a way, the Definitive Edition isn't all that different from the original GTA 3. They're both lifeless, but just for different reasons. The PS2 version felt empty because Rockstar didn't fully know how to fill it in yet. The Definitive Edition feels empty because Rockstar stopped caring, and somehow they both end up giving off that same energy, that same weird, detached feeling that there's no real passion behind any of it. The remaster looks cleaner, but it's the kind of clean that scrubs away all the texture. You can tell the visuals were fed through an AI filter instead of an artist. The characters just look wrong, too smooth, too bright, and too lifeless. The lighting feels artificial, like it's trying to modernize something that was never meant to look polished in the first place. But it's not just a visual problem, it's a tone problem. The original had this gritty urban atmosphere, grainy textures, dark skies, heavy shadows. It felt like a place that wasn't meant to be safe. The Definitive Edition erases that. Everything's oversaturated and weirdly cheerful. It's like the game lost its identity somewhere between nostalgia and laziness. It's the same mistake GTA 3 made, just in reverse. The original wanted to sound serious but came off hollow. The remastered ones look nostalgic but feel soulless. Both versions are trying to capture something they don't actually understand. You can almost feel the disconnect between the original creative vision and the people who remade it. Nobody at Grove Street Games, or Rockstar really, stopped to ask if this was the right way to preserve something so old. They just ran it through a new engine, upscaled the textures, and called it a Definitive Edition. It's not definitive, it's digital taxidermy. It looks like GTA 3, but it's not alive. That's what makes it so frustrating. 20 years later, Rockstar managed to release a new version of the same game with the same problem. No heart, no care, no emotion, just an obligation to keep something profitable alive. When you play the Definitive Edition, you realize not much has changed. Not in tone, not in philosophy, not even in how they treat their own history. The names, faces, and hardware are different, but that emptiness, that's still there. Whenever you criticize GTA 3, someone always says the same thing. Yeah, but it was revolutionary, and sure it was, but that doesn't make it good now. Nostalgia has this weird power to rewrite the past. People remember what GTA 3 felt like in 2001, not what it actually was. It was the first time you could drive around a 3D city, cause chaos, and hear voices on the radio. It was shocking, new, and unlike anything else, but just because it was groundbreaking doesn't mean it aged well. When people defend it today, they're not defending the game, they're defending the memory of it. They're defending being 12 years old, playing something that felt limitless, they're defending that feeling of freedom that games hadn't given them before. But if you strip away the nostalgia and look at GTA 3 for what it actually is, the writing, the gameplay, the tone, it falls apart almost instantly. That's not disrespectful, it's just honest. Games evolve fast. What was once groundbreaking becomes clunky, and what was once edgy becomes dull. GTA 3 was a starting line, not a finish, but nostalgia makes people treat it like sacred ground. You see the same thing with the Definitive Edition. People wanted to relive what they remembered. That early 2000s chaos, that discovery of freedom, but instead they got a shiny version of something that never really worked in the first place. It's like putting a fresh coat of paint on a building with no foundations. It might look better for a second, but it's still collapsing underneath. And that's where nostalgia gets dangerous. It blinds you. It makes you think things were better just because you were different back then. Younger, happier, more easily impressed, but games aren't memories. They don't grow with you. If you revisit them and find nothing left, that doesn't mean you've changed too much. It means the game was never that deep to begin with. That's why GTA 3 frustrates me so much. Not because it's bad, but because people keep pretending it isn't. They keep trying to protect what it represented instead of what it actually is. And the truth is, that's not respect, that's denial. What's interesting about GTA 3 isn't that people still defend it, it's why they do. It's not really about the gameplay or the story or even the nostalgia anymore, it's about the idea of being first. People romanticize beginnings, the first 3D city, the first time freedom in a game actually felt real, the first big leap forward. Once something is the first of its kind, it becomes untouchable, like it earned a permanent pass from criticism, and that's what GTA 3 has lived off of for more than 2 decades. But being first doesn't make something good, it just makes it important. And importance fades fast once something better comes along. Vice City gave the series color and attitude, San Andreas gave it emotion and scale, GTA 4 gave it depth and maturity. Each new game took what GTA 3 started and turned it into something that actually worked. You see this in every medium. People cling to the original because it feels pure, like it represents an idea before everything got complicated, but purity isn't the same as quality. The first movie to use CGI isn't automatically the best. The first open world game isn't automatically worth replaying. Something being first just means being early. That's what GTA 3 really is, an early version of something that got much, much better. It deserves respect for breaking ground, not praise for holding up, and that's a distinction people struggle with. Letting go of that nostalgia feels like admitting what once blew your mind doesn't anymore, and that's uncomfortable, but that's the truth. People aren't defending GTA 3 because it's still fun, they're defending the memory of what it felt like when it was new, and that's fine, but memory and reality aren't the same thing. For all the things GTA 3 gets wrong, it did one thing almost perfectly. It gave the industry a blueprint, not a polished one, not a balanced one, but a real working foundation for what an open world could be. Every modern open world game, whether it's Watch Dogs, Saints Row, Sleeping Dogs, or even Cyberpunk, owes a piece of itself to this game, not because of its characters or story, but because it proved a world could exist without level boundaries. It showed that players didn't need invisible walls or mission select screens. The world itself was the structure. That idea changed everything. Even if GTA 3 didn't make it fun yet, it made it possible. And sometimes that's the most important part of progress, being the one that shows it can be done even if it's not perfect. You can feel the DNA in every Rockstar game that came after. Vice City learned style, San Andreas learned emotion, GTA 4 learned weight and realism, but all of those lessons came from this. The mistakes, the limitations, the awkward first steps, they all built the foundation for what would become one of the most influential series ever made. And maybe that's the thing people sense when they call it a masterpiece, not the quality, but the impact, because even if GTA 3 isn't fun to play now, you can still feel how big it must have felt then. The camera angles, the radio chatter, the open map, those were mind-blowing ideas in 2001. It was a broken vision, but it was still a vision. If you strip away all the nostalgia and the frustration, that's what's left. A prototype that proved freedom could exist in a game world. It didn't perfect it, it didn't even come close, but it lit the path for everything that would. Looking back, I don't think GTA 3 was ever made to be emotional. It was made to be impressive. It's a game built more around a statement than an experience. Everything about this screams, look what we can do, instead of here's why you should care. That's what separates it from every Rockstar game that came after. Vice City wanted to entertain you, San Andreas wanted to inspire you, GTA 4 wanted to move you, but GTA 3 only wanted to prove it was possible. It's a technical flex disguised as a story, and that's why it feels so cold. You can see it in the way missions are structured. They're not there to build relationships or tension. They're there to show features, explosions, vehicles, AI behavior, voice acting. Everything feels like a demo reel stitched together into a full game. It's impressive in concept, but completely disconnected in spirit. And that's what makes it so fascinating in hindsight. Rockstar wasn't trying to make something emotionally rich yet. They were trying to make something that worked. A city that functioned, cars that behaved, systems that synced. The heart came later. So when people say GTA 3 feels soulless, they're not wrong, but it was kind of the point. It's the sound of a studio learning how to build the stage before figuring out what story to tell on it. That's why, even after all the frustrations and emptiness, I can't fully hate it, because buried under that coldness is the confidence that shaped everything after. It's not that the game made you feel something, it's the one that made everything else possible. Once you finish the game, the real story isn't about how it ends, it's about what happened after, because as soon as this game came out, Rockstar stopped looking backwards. They'd done the impossible, a functioning open world city. The next question wasn't how do we fix it, but how do we fill it in? And that's where everything shifted. The silence of Claude turned into Tommy Vercetti's personality. The static gray of Liberty City turned into Vice City's neon. The cold emptiness turned into the heat of ambition. GTA 3 was a rough draft that taught them scale, and once they had that, they learned storytelling. They learned how to build worlds with rhythm, how to connect the chaos to something human, and how to make players feel something in between the explosions. Every masterpiece Rockstar made after this traces back to this ugly, broken experiment. That's the irony of GTA 3. It failed at almost everything creatively, but it taught its creators how to succeed. The game doesn't end with its credits, it ended when Vice City began. That's why you can't just write it off as bad. It's more complicated than that. It's a mistake that made everything else possible, the spark that forced Rockstar to grow up. The funny thing about GTA 3 is that it didn't just redefine freedom, it also redefined what players expected from it. Before this game, freedom was simple. Do what you want, go where you want. After GTA 3, that idea became the new standard, and suddenly, every open world game started chasing it, even when they didn't know why. That's the part people forgot. Freedom isn't automatically fun. It only works when the world around it has meaning. GTA 3 proved you could build a massive world, but it also showed what happens when you don't fill it with life. And ever since, every developer's been trying to balance that, between letting players roam and giving them a reason to care. And that way, GTA 3 didn't just create a genre, it created a problem that the entire industry is still trying to solve. How do you make freedom feel purposeful? How do you keep a world from feeling like empty space? Even the best modern games, Cyberpunk, Skyrim, and Starfield, still wrestle with that question. And that's why GTA 3's influence is so strange. It's not a perfect legacy, it's a haunting one. It built a formula everyone wanted to copy, but few understood. It gave us scale, but not always substance. And somehow, even after 20 years, we're still living in its shadow. So yeah, GTA 3 redefined freedom, but it also showed us its limits. It taught us that being able to do everything means nothing if none of it matters.